What is up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This video is my 1 week impression of living with the Xbox Series X. I've been fortunate enough to have it 6 months ago. I remember thinking, wow, I can't wait until November when I can finally get my hands on a Series X or a PS5. And now I've had it for about a week. There's a lot of people that are still trying to get it, so I truly am blessed. I feel blessed for some reasons. For a lot of other reasons, I don't know if I really feel blessed for having a Series X just yet. So let me go into detail about what I like, what I don't like, my impressions having it for about a week, and we can go from there. So let's start off with the controller. Now, Xbox is, I want to say they're notorious for having really bad controllers. They specifically said on the Xbox One that they went with a cheaper version of a controller just so they could bring the cost of the Xbox One down. Because of that, there were a lot of issues with controllers. People would have them break within a few weeks, within a few months of using them, and you'd have to go and purchase another controller. Even the Elite series controllers that are like 200 bucks, something like that, those had issues with them as well, where Xbox was purposely making some components of it cheaper, so you'd have to purchase another controller later on. There's currently a lawsuit going on for the Elite controllers. You can look into it online, but it's pretty crazy that Xbox has had these crazy issues with their controllers for years now. So it's really nice that Xbox didn't go with a cheaper controller for the Xbox Series X. So the Series X controller at first glance might look exactly the same as the Xbox One controller, and that's what I thought as well when I was watching reviews like this. However, after having it in my hands, after playing with it for about a week now, I can say that it is pretty different. So first things first, it has USB-C rather than USB-B. So it does charge a little bit quicker if you have a battery pack installed. I noticed that the controller lasts longer and also charges quicker. The second thing I noticed was when I'm playing games such as 2K, so with the Xbox One controller, when I played 2K, the rumble motor in these controllers or in the Xbox One controllers was horrible. I could put it down on the table and it would make the nastiest vibration noise, if you will. This controller's motor is much better. You can just tell that it's not cheap. When the controller vibrates, you can tell that pieces of plastic aren't moving around. It is very nicely built. Xbox One controller was not like that by any means. So when clicking on the different buttons and the bumpers, right away I was able to tell that these are not cheap. These are pretty nicely built. I mean, maybe Xbox did go with a cheaper solution still compared to what they could have, but this is a very nice controller. It really does remind me of the Elite controllers. So far, I don't have any issues with it. Overall, the controller is heavier than the Xbox One controller, and there is an additional button for you to share your gameplay much easier now than you could before. And then also what I noticed, what I really like, it's the small details. The Xbox button in the middle, it has a nice matte finish. When you turn it on, obviously you'll see the light inside, but when it's not on, there's a very nice matte finish to the controller. And then also it has very nice, like a texture, very nice texture. And then on the bumpers on the back, there's like a bumpy kind of texture, if you will. So it feels nice. The controller is really nice. Now, when you compare it to the PlayStation controller, that thing is destroying the Xbox Series X controller. It's blowing it out of the water. But that's because PlayStation went balls to the wall with their controller this go round. So compared to the PlayStation controller, I guess the Xbox controller is not a huge upgrade, but compared to the Xbox One controller, this is much nicer. This is an awesome update to the crappy controllers that Xbox has had over the last few years. Now, going over the console specifically, just keep in mind that it is a new console. If you're bringing all of your games from Xbox One to the new console, you'll still need to download all of those games again. So even if they were downloaded on your Xbox One, when you plug up your Xbox Series X and you put in the games for the first time, you have to download them all again. Keep in mind, a lot of games are like 50 gigs, so it does take time to download. I had to download 2K, FIFA, Call of Duty, which is like 150 gig update, which is insane. So when you get the new system, you'll have to spend at least a few hours waiting for the games to download. Now the system itself does launch up pretty quickly compared to the Xbox One. Now Xbox One did have the quick turn on feature, whatever that's called. The Series X has that as well. The Xbox One, when you would take out the power cord and shut it off completely and then turn it on, it would take 2-3 minutes for the Xbox One to turn on completely. Even when you do that with the Series X, the Series X launches within, I'd say, maybe 15 seconds. And that's the benefit of having the SSD in place for this console. The load times of games are also pretty quick. Keep in mind, if you're playing a game that has cross-gen enabled, where you can play against people that have Xbox Ones or PlayStation 4s, your game technically would load really quickly. The new Call of Duty is supposed to load extremely quickly for those with the next-gen consoles, but because there's cross-play enabled, you have to sit in the lobby waiting for other people's systems to load the game so that you can start playing. That is quite an unfortunate benefit for the people that have the older consoles. For us that have the newer consoles, it does suck that we gotta wait just because other people have to catch up, but that's how it goes. It is what it is. The games launch up pretty quickly, and it's really cool to be able to go from one game to another with the quick resume feature that they've got. The issue with this feature is if you're playing a game online. So let's say I was playing a game online for FIFA and I shut down my console in the FIFA lobby menu area. Once I shut down my console and turn it back on, I have to wait for my console to connect to the internet again, connect me to the EA servers, and then I can start playing another game. That makes sense because I am playing online. If you're playing online, just keep in mind the quick resume feature really only works when you're doing like campaign mode. It'll work for that. Now going back to the downloading of the games, the Xbox Series X has the 5th generation Wi-Fi chip rather than the 6th generation that the PlayStation 5 has. So the download speeds would be theoretically slower on the Xbox Series X than the PlayStation 5, but from what I noticed, for me to download 80 gigs, it took me about an hour overall, which is crazy that to download 80 gigs, it takes about an hour. Now it does depend on the internet speed that you have. I have like 600 megabyte speed, so between all the devices that are sharing the Wi-Fi, for me to download 80 gigs within an hour, it's not bad. Now here's the issue. Here's where, as a gamer, as somebody that loves technology, here's where I'm a little annoyed. When the Series X launched last week, there were only 4 games to choose from, 4 or 5. 2K quickly came out with their version for the next-gen console, so for the Series X, and I downloaded it. Gameplay-wise, I really don't notice a huge upgrade. I wasn't sitting there thinking, wow, this is next-gen gaming, this is crazy. I was sitting there more trying to figure out where the updates even are, where there's better graphics, where there's faster load times, and I really wasn't able to tell. When it comes to the ray tracing, you know, when the players are running around on the court, there's reflections on the hardwood for the basketball court. That was a little cool, but other than that, it's not like where they promised, 2K promised that the crowd would be very unique. Each person in the crowd would be unique. I didn't notice that. The players don't really look that real. They look more real in the Xbox One version than they do in the next-gen gaming version. FIFA is the same way. Don't even get me started on FIFA. This game is broken. I went on like a 17-game winning streak, and now I'm on like a 12-game losing streak. There's something wrong with this game, and if you can manipulate it to your advantage, you'll do really well. But I don't think it's realistic. We're not going to talk about FIFA, we're just going to leave it at that. Call of Duty has a huge issue right now as well, where if you're playing, it completely shuts down the system. I'm going to make a separate video on that, but if you're planning on getting Call of Duty, I'd say maybe wait a week or 2 until whatever this issue is patched up, and then get the console. Because right now, I'll log onto the game, try to load a game, try to play it for like 2-3 minutes, and then the system completely freezes and shuts down. At first, I thought this was an issue with the Xbox. Then I read online that this is an issue with Call of Duty and the way that their game is built. There's something wrong with the coding. Hopefully that gets fixed. It's actually also an issue on the PlayStations as well. So it's not just an Xbox Series X issue. Now, the reason why I am annoyed is because these systems were announced over a year ago. I think it's been like a year and a half that it was announced they would come out in the winter of 2020. And it really seems like game developers, companies, just are not ready for next-gen gaming. These systems are capable of doing so many crazy things, able to have amazing graphics, and I understand that it just came out. I understand it's just the first week. It's going to take about 6 months, a few different iterations for games to start utilizing everything, all the specs that these consoles have. But for now, for launch, it just feels very underdeveloped. We have this crazy console that can do so many things, but then we have these games that are not utilizing it to its full advantage. I don't know if this is because developers just didn't want to overcompensate and overuse the different specs on the console. Maybe that could be it. I don't know what the reason would be. It just feels like different companies are they're not ready. They are not ready for these next gen consoles. So overall, if you're somebody that is thinking about getting a next gen console like a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Series S, my recommendation would be to just wait. Maybe wait 3-4 months when more games come out. I'm excited to see what Cyberpunk looks like on the Series X specifically, but I'd say wait a little bit. Wait 6 months if you can. I know it's the newest thing and a lot of people want it just because it's the newest thing. That's what I wanted, was the newest thing. But if you can wait, just wait a little bit until games are fully optimized to take the 4K 120, utilize it, and just look amazing. With all these issues going on with games right now, I hope that there's games that come out that just kill it. I'm assuming Cyberpunk is doing something like that. I really wish that 2K would have done a little bit better. FIFA, the next gen version, comes out in a few weeks here. Call of Duty has crazy issues. They're in a different world. They need to figure something out right away. They released a game that really truly is underdeveloped. So yeah, as of now, just wait a little bit because the next gen gaming is all over the place. These consoles should be able to utilize everything 4K 120, all these awesome specs, ray tracing, but they just are being underutilized at this point. And even with a TV that can do 4K 120, I've got the HDMI 2.1 port, I'm still not too impressed. So I'd say just wait a little bit. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody that has subscribed to me so far, everybody that even watches my videos, thank you. I do need to create a new backdrop. I'm looking for some cool lighting, so if you do have any recommendations, send it in the comments below, or you can message me on Twitter. If you have any questions about technology, you can message me on Twitter. I can give you my input, and we can go from there. Thank you for watching.